Hi, so in this session we're going to be talking about how to build a bridal bouquet. There are many different styles. You have traditional, you have round, you have crescent, just round organic, loosely done. So the way that you determine is completely on your style. My suggestion is you go find inspiration pictures and really find what you're looking for. I always say that that's just inspiration, because the bouquet that you build is going to be your own inspiration. Your own personal bouquet. So we're going to start with pulling a recipe like we had talked about. And so this will be similar to the greenery bouquet for the bridesmaids that we just made, but really enhanced with more florals. So we're so happy with all the flowers that we got from 50flowers.com. They sent some amazing product. We're using their DIY combo packs. So we have some spray roses, some silver burnia. I'm kind of going with the blue, yellow, and a little bit of a dusty gray color to create this recipe. So I like to make sure that I have all my tools in place. For this one specifically, I'm gonna go ahead and go over it again. We're gonna have Oasis binding wire. We're gonna have the waterproof tape. I have ribbon scissors. I also have the double-faced satin ribbon, so it's shiny on both sides. I have corsage pins to make sure that we can close up the ribbon nice and neat. I have my Oasis sponge cutters. Then I've also got a vase for pulling the recipe as well as for putting the finished product in. The greenery is going to be the silver dollar eucalyptus. We're going to use the spiral euc or the baby euc as well to kind of give different textures. We're also going to use some spray roses. So let me pull, I like to work in odd numbers, so you'll hear me say that a lot. And sometimes for the bridal bouquet, I will pull a little bit extra to make sure I'm getting that perfect bloom. To me, that's the most important, to make sure that everything that is utilized in that one is immaculate. So of course we want good flowers everywhere, but if you're carrying it around, you're gonna have it in your hands the whole time, getting all the beautiful pictures of it. You wanna make sure that it's spot on. So you'll see I'm examining every flower. Sometimes what happens in transportation is you will have a little bit of browning, and that's okay. You just peel that flower right off and put it in the trash. If that happens, roses create, and a lot of flowers too, will have what's called a guard petal. And so it's just the petal on the outside that protects all of the nice, pretty ones. So we'll have that. I'm also gonna pull some white stock. I love using it in bouquets. So we'll prep up. I'm trying to, I like the ones that have the little greenery at the top, or green coloring at the top. For me, that's just a little bit more garden style. If I was going a little bit more modern, I'd actually pop that off and I would use one that's bloomed all the way out. I like ones that have shapes because that adds a little bit of quirk into the bouquet as well. So I specifically select every bloom that I'm looking for. Okay, so I'm just gonna do 3. I also have some fun billy balls. These are great because you can actually spray paint them any color and it won't hurt. So if you're wanting to put some different pops of color into the bouquet, you could. But they're beautiful. They just grow in little balls. They make for a good texture. We're also gonna use some chamomile in here. Just pull a couple of bunches of that. A couple stems, sorry. And again, prep that up. Make sure all the foliage, because we don't want any foliage below the designing in your hand whenever we make that C shape again. If you see blooms on the breaks that you don't need, I would definitely save those, put those to the side, because again, you can put those in the centerpieces. You can use them as detailing flowers, pass them on to your photographer, or whatever that may be. So we have greenery, we have the stock, the spray roses, the billy balls, and the chamomile. And also want to do a little bit of Lizzie in this. So with this, again, I'm gonna go and be intentional about the blooms that I pick. We're gonna choose this one, because he's got a bud right next to him, and that kind of tends a little bit more to the garden style that I'm looking for. We'll do this one, and I'm gonna do 3. I like that one. These are so pretty. Whenever I'm choosing flowers to design with as well, I also look for what's in season, because if it's in season, you're gonna get a better quality than something that you're trying to use that's out of season. So I think that's super important, and I would definitely keep that in mind when you're making your selections. I know that on the website for 50 Flowers, they have some amazing things that you can actually put in your colors and your dates and all kinds of ideas and inspiration that you can pull from. I do want to bring in a little bit of Veronica. Because I want to set this bouquet apart a little bit from all the others. And the centerpieces, and just add a little bit of color in there. We're stuck. Okay, and then this is that silver Bernia. So kind of playing off the billy balls as well. Okay, so let's get a little bit more greenery. Again, I'm breaking that stem up into multiple pieces so that we can get more use out of it. The more that you can get out of a stem instead of creating waste, the less you'll have to order, which is nice. But again, it's not always a guarantee, so definitely make sure you do order enough floral. Okay, so I'm just prepping up everything, making sure all is good. We are gonna do a rounded style bouquet again, but keep it loose and organic. So I'm going to actually do one more piece with the baby yolk. And remember, you take it in reverse. It's a lot easier to get off. And then it just kind of falls off. So I'm gonna start with the greenery again. We're just going to go in the spiral instead of creating an X, because whenever you create an X, it will damage the stems. And now that we're actually using floral, that is super important, because when you add that tape, it will make the stems break sometimes. So again, I'm just kind of going around with all my greenery, and I can cut it back if it's too big, or if you decide, hey, I like the loose and organic, I'm gonna keep it, then you can absolutely keep it that way. And if you have something that's, obviously that's a pain to design with, so I'm gonna go ahead and just cut it off. And then we're gonna start in with the baby eucalyptus to add in that texture. I'm still keeping it nice and round. Except for I did what I told y'all not to do, and I did not prep up the stem. All right, so we're gonna pull this to the back side of it. So you just see, we just have our very similar, a little less full than what the bridesmaid's bouquet looks like, because we are adding flowers. And if I decide I want to add more greenery, I can always do that at the end. I don't want to overstuff it. So super important, because it's easy to do. So I'm going to start with my heavier flower, which is going to be the stalk. And I'm just going to come in and I'm going to place that where I see a peekaboo in the bouquet. Same thing for over here. Whenever I am designing, and I'm creating that spiral still. But when I'm designing, I like to make sure that I'm keeping the shape along the way. So again, we can come in, I have my hands in a loose C or like O shape. that leaf. To make sure that, you know, I can still move things around if I want to pull something else out. Next, we're gonna go with the silver burnia. So I don't want him to be a focal point, but I do like the texture and the color that he brings in. So I'm just gonna put two together, turn it around. I'm gonna kind of tuck them in there. And again, just kind of going in where I see holes, and then I build up in different layers. Next, we're gonna go for the spray roses. So I'm gonna put some of them in the center. And kind of turn, make sure that I'm getting some of this on all angles. Again, I'm going in the spiral, I'm not crossing over. Super important. Because you want your flowers to be able to drink water. So I felt like right now I've kind of lost the shape. So I'm gonna go ahead and trim it back to make sure I'm where I want to be. And I feel like we do need another piece of greenery right here. And you can have a couple of extra pieces already prepped, ready to go if you'd like. Might be a little bit easier that way. I'm actually gonna cut him down and pull him down. And then next we're gonna go into the Lizzie. So kind of making a second layer, we're gonna make sure that he pops out a little bit. He doesn't necessarily, if you wanted more round, you could definitely pull it down. But since we're going round with a little bit organic, we're just gonna leave him on that second layer. Cut. These are a little bit too much for me now that I'm getting all the flowers in here. And then next we also have the chamomile, which is the cutest little daisies. So we're gonna put some in the center. Now I'm just making sure that I'm filling in all the holes that I have. Even though I'm placing through the center, I'm still making sure that I'm going in that spiral technique. So just kind of placing. I love these, they're so pretty. Okay, so you can kind of see, we're getting, keeping with that rounded shape still. Now we're getting more and more into the details. So these are definitely details. They've got a fun shape to go with. So I make sure that I'm utilizing that shape to create movement within the bouquet. And clustering the colors. So a little bit, if you put it more polka dot, that's going a little bit more traditional. Whereas if you cluster the colors together, it tends to lend itself into the more garden style. All right, and some of the stems are getting a little long, so it is okay if you want to, you can cut it. Makes it a little bit easier to work with. And okay. So now we're getting there. I'm gonna go into the billy ball, which again, we're gonna cluster those together. We're gonna pop them out a little bit to add a little bit of texture and fun detail. So we're getting close to the end. I've utilized all the flowers that I wanted to. So I cut it and then kind of examine it to make sure that if I've got any big holes, maybe I need to pull an extra flower or two just to make sure that it is in the round. So probably, like I see a hole right here where if the photographer was taking pictures, we want to make sure that they're not just getting a bald spot. So I would probably come and just cluster 2 more stalk here. Because we like to design in odd numbers. I'll do one down here. So now you can see that that's filled in. And we've got a beautiful bouquet. So sometimes I'll design in front of a mirror as well. So if you're having trouble deciding on if you like the shape, so maybe go into the bathroom, check it out, make sure that the shape is good. I typically will create a front and a back, but the front usually has more details or it kind of lends itself to be definitely for the pictures more flower heavy. And then we're gonna use, so I'll show you for this one, we're gonna use binding wire. Cut it. Like I said, there's several ways that you can tie it off. You can use binding wire, you can use waterproof tape. You can also use a zip tie, whatever's the easiest. So we're just gonna wrap it around a couple times. And then, like you would a zip tie, just twist it closed. I would cut it so you don't have to hide as much. And then I will show you how to wrap it with a ribbon. Thanks for watching.